the hell are the Cowboys going to do about this offensive line? Is there anything more unsettling right now? Like, for all the things that we've seen related to the Cowboys, you've got where's the effort? Where's the, they shrink in big games. Is McCarthy really built for it? Is Dak built for it? Whatever else. Is there anything else we're less confident in right now than, as of today, March 18th, than what the offensive line looks like?
No.
I'm terrified.
No idea.
If you're genuinely going to put people on one-year deals and kind of reevaluate everything, decide, are we going to blow up this core? Are we going to move forward with it? I don't know how you can get a fair evaluation the way this offensive line looks right now.
Question. We have been dealing with, over the last, 10 years, a really massive offensive line advantage compared to the rest of the league, right?
Yeah.
At times.
Are we not just now where everybody else is in the NFL? Like, doesn't everybody else have one or two massive holes on the offensive line? I mean, how many offensive line have first rounders at basically every position but one?
Well, I think generally, like one of the exceptions to this in recent years was Kansas City's offensive line was awful a couple years ago when they made the Super Bowl, and they got destroyed by Tampa because of it. Mm-hmm. And they immediately went out and said, let's go fix it. So I will say we are like the rest of the league, but the idea is you don't want to be like the rest of the league. You want to be like the top of the league. And San Francisco pass protects really well. Baltimore, Kansas City, Detroit. Detroit's got arguably the best offensive line in football. So I think if you want to look at one position group that seems to translate among contenders pretty consistently, its offensive line is usually you're not getting to the Super Bowl with a bad offensive line or with questions on your offensive line. That's going to be really difficult.
Is the internet broken in here?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, it is.
I had to go to Hotspot about an hour ago.
Yeah, I had to go to Hotspot too. So that's what I actually had to run downstairs and do. I had to go get a cable so that I could tether my phone to the laptop. And of course, on the elevator ride back up, as I'm watching my stopwatch, seeing how much time we have left in the break, somebody jumps on and goes, floor 2, floor 4, floor 5, floor 6. I'm like, damn it, I can't keep making all these stops, you guys. Yeah. So made it up here just in time. Before we get into some more specifics of the Cowboys offensive line, really interesting note from Field Yates this morning related to Dak Prescott. So the Cowboys took the $5 million roster bonus that Dak Prescott was due, and they converted it into a signing bonus. So basically what that means is instead of just giving you this payment as, we're classifying this as a roster bonus, we're now going to classify it as a signing bonus, which you're allowed to then spread out as a cap hit over 4 years. And so, or however much is left on the contract. So the Cowboys, in order to spread that out, added 2 void years to his deal. And void years basically are like, I'm certain one day the NFL is going to get rid of these because the league is going to look like this is just a stupid way that you guys have gamed the system. It basically means there's 4 extra years. Right now, technically, Dak's contract has 5 years left on it. It has this year, and then it has now 4 void years, which basically means when you reach the end of this year, those contract years void and they don't exist anymore. But there's no money on them initially. You're just using it to spread signing bonuses out over years. It's an accounting trick. So the Cowboys have added 2 more void years to that. Now, why is that important or significant? Because it shows that they are at least laying the groundwork for, if we cannot work out an extension, we need to be able to shuffle some of this money around, and we're going to, if we need to restructure you instead of extend you, we need to be able to spread this cap hit out a little bit. And that puts them in a tough spot now. And so if they're not able to get an extension done. But it does show they're at least, it doesn't prevent them from negotiating with Dak. I know Jane Slater has said she thinks something gets done closer to August. But if you're doing these things, making these accounting moves, this is because you're laying the groundwork for, we might need this cap relief, which sets up the one and done potential. I still believe if you're going to just try and say, hey, prove it, and then we'll work on a contract next year, you're losing him. You're saying you want to lose your quarterback.
So thinking that, believing that, does that mean that you would say, if you were them, knowing that Dak's going to leave, would you trade him now? Like, is that what you're saying you would do?
Yeah, I don't think he'd play ball with you. You'd have to. He's got the no trade clause, and I don't think he'd help you.
Well,
he would either want to work it out here, and if things didn't work out, then he would just say, I'm gone. Like, I don't think he'd say, well, trade me now. I think he'd try to work it out. If it got to the market, though, if you exposed him to the market, I don't think he'd stick around.
He did get rid of the goatee.
He did. That was very quick decision.
Very quick, man.
Boy, it is not like
smart decision.
It is not like him to have rabbit ears like that and listen to the public.
That's right.
But he clearly heard all the.
That was they were wrong with him. They were doing him wrong, man.
Calling him Hefe Prescott.
I saw people say his name is change his name to Hector. I mean, come on, man. You're doing him wrong.
Hector Dalamaca.
There was a lot of Diego Prescott out there. People were hitting him with it.
And of course, the reason you're bringing up the offensive line, Tyron Smith to the Jets, $6.5 million base with incentives up to 20. What was your reaction when you heard
my first reaction was I saw 20.
Yeah.
Like, well, wait a second. That's a lot. I don't blame them at all.
Right.
But then I see that the base is 6.5, and it's like, okay. Now, how many incentives is he getting here? Like, is it he'll get up to $20 million if he catches a touchdown pass from Aaron Rodgers in the Super Bowl in the third quarter with them down 6? Like, those are the parameters to get to $20 million, or are these just, like Bobby said, $750,000 per game roster bonuses or whatever for $6.5 million base, and then incentives. It sounds like a deal to me.
So the deal he signed last year with the Cowboys was a $3 million base. So the Jets are more than doubling his base salary that the Cowboys gave him last year. With incentives per game, like play, he was getting $500,000 for every game he played. And so it looks like, without knowing for sure what the incentive setup is for the Jets, but if you break it down, it essentially looks like it's $6.5 million, and then there's probably $750,000 per game active, is what I would guess. And then there's another, if you stretch that over 17 games, there's an extra $750,000 unaccounted for. So that's probably, you make a Pro Bowl or you do something. That would be my guess. Now, we may see that it looks wildly different to that. It may be that it is $500,000 per game bonuses, and then he's got some other stuff built in. But he basically could have made $11 million in incentives last year with the Cowboys. So this is 13.5. It's a little bit more than they were doing, but they more than doubled his salary. I feel like the Cowboys probably tried to sign him to the same deal that they had him on last year. And they said, well, good luck. Go find somebody who will give you the Wednesday practice schedule. Go find somebody who will stagger you like that. And the Jets, who go, yeah, Aaron Rodgers, run for vice president. You can be on the ticket. That's okay. Just be here for your football related. Then, yeah, that is the team that would say you can only, you can skip Wednesday practices. But they're without Tyron Smith now, and you're left wondering.
But are we looking at that saying, are you serious? Like your left tackle, 6.5 base? That looks ridiculously cheap.
Yeah, it is ridiculously cheap. Now, the idea is, if he were to, let's assume it is $750,000 per game, like I just mentioned there. That would have meant that the Cowboys would have been paying, and it's still not that bad. That means if he played the same amount of games he did last year, they would have ended up paying $17 million for him this year if they signed him to the same deal, and he played the same number of games he did last year.
And you have to put that.
But $17 million for a top tier left tackle, if he's active for that much, it's not bad.
And playing times and incentives.
A lot of it's your games you're active.
No, are they cap holds? They're cap holds though, right?
No, so it's like the same thing they did with Greg Hardy. It like rolls over to the next year. It's because you don't know how much you're going to be able to get. So it doesn't actually hit until the following year, and then you get cap charges the following year for whatever they did.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Should have done it. That's what they did with Greg Hardy. You remember when they signed Greg Hardy? It was like up to $12 million. But they signed him for like $1 million. And then with the incentives, they didn't have any money when they signed him.
There's Andrew Hawkins. They're saying if the Cowboys don't extend Dak's contract, what happens? Andrew Hawkins, ESPN, he will be gone in 2025.
Yeah, I don't think he's playing with you on this. And I think last offseason, and we talked about this a lot, last offseason was the first time I think Dak is the king of never let him see a sweat. He's going to be very even. He will not let you know when something's pissing him off or when he's upset or whatever else. Last year was the first time there were a couple different instances during the offseason I think you saw he was annoyed with everything here. Like there was the question about Trey Lance right after the preseason game where he got asked something like, are you surprised they didn't run it by you? Are you surprised they didn't do that? And you saw him just kind of slow blink and shake his head. And it was like a moment where it's like, oh, that's not like him to do that. There was the point where they were like, hey, McCarthy said you guys talked about the interceptions. You guys did this during OTAs. And Dak had said, yeah, I don't think the conversation went the way that he told you guys. And it's like, oh, okay. You seem a little bit frustrated by this. And there was a point. I think he's frustrated with the things that get attributed to him that he knows are not him in certain instances, whether it be interceptions or other things with the offense, where it's like, yeah, you can definitively judge, I didn't play up to the level against the Packers, but some of these things you hear, you hit me with of like, oh, he's turnover prone, he does this and this. It's like, well, you don't know what's been blown on that assignment.
So now there's questions up front about left tackle, right tackle, and center.
Yeah, and then depending on what you do at left tackle, left guard. Like, are you going to bump Tyler Smith out? And then what are you going to do? You're going to play TJ Bass there? I think that there's a distinct possibility if things fall the wrong way during the draft, you're talking about moving Tyler Smith to left tackle, so having him ping pong back and forth, which guys will tell you, like players will tell you, that is a difficult thing to do. Like, if you're making them consistently change their footwork and do different things, that can be frustrating. But you're talking about moving Smith to left tackle, and then your center and your guard potentially, not likely, but potentially being two guys who have been undrafted free agents in the last 2 years in TJ Bass at left guard and Brock Hoffman at center.
The good news is they're still going to have 2 All-Pros on their line, which most teams don't have.
They are, but Zach Martin was not Zach Martin last year. He was good. He was still better than most of the league, but he's 34 now, or he's going to be 34 or whatever he is. It's funny. Tyron Smith, this is how young Tyron was when he got here. Tyron Smith had made a Pro Bowl and signed a contract extension on top of his rookie deal before Zach Martin ever played a game, and Zach Martin's older than Tyron Smith.
Wow.
Because Tyron was 20 when he got picked, and Zach Martin was an older player, but Zach Martin is... Look, that was the conversation last year when Zach was trying to get paid, was he sees the end, and he's trying to get his money and get his last payday. And
I wish Tyron went to a Kansas City or even better situation.
Yeah, he had no chance to win. He ain't going there to win.
There's a chance.
Who misses a game first, Tyron or Aaron Rodgers?
There's a chance, but I think so many things have to hit. They're an old roster, and then Rodgers to stay healthy, and
Rodgers stay healthy. That's it.
That's the hit.
It's interesting. I looked something up. Additional roster.
By the way,
moves.
he's not going to be the RFK Vice. Mina Kimes with the tweet of the weekend.
Yeah, that was good. She was good. It was I don't remember the
Shanahan.
Shanahan was the last name. I don't remember what the first name was. And she was like, Aaron Rodgers foiled by Shanahan again.
Yeah, Shanahan's going to be the
pretty
RFK
good.
VP.
That's pretty good. That's why ESPN forces her down our throats, is for content like that. Leighton Vander Esch and Michael Gallup were released at the end of last week. Vander Esch likely to retire. Gallup, we'll see. He's got a meeting with the Panthers. But I did think it was interesting. It made me want to go back and look now that they've lost so many different guys. For an organization that does we draft, develop, sign our own, that is what we do here. The Cowboys currently have 3 players on their roster out of 24 guys they picked between 2018 and 2020. They have Donovan Wilson. Who was the other 2? It was Donovan Wilson, CeeDee Lamb, and Trayvon Diggs. That's it. Those are the only guys. Because and it's not like you're talking about guys they've let go during that time. Dalton Schultz, Michael Gallup is leaving now. Biotish. It is guys who have performed at a level that they've just chosen not to bring back.